There guys, how we doing today? Hope you're having an awesome day. So, we did the old one, now we're going for the new one. Unravel those bandages for cinema recap, cause today's dusty flick
is The Mummy, a film about a haunting
ancient secret. Let's waddle our way into it.
Spoilers ahead.
Cue deathly mumbo jumbo, yada yada yada. It's the 11th century in England, and hey, I know those guys. Bunch of jerkwads known as the Templars. What's that jewel? It's another piece of Eden. Let's fast forward a bit. Looks like modern England found the burial site. At least these artifacts are local. Looks like these burial grounds are found everywhere below the ground in London. Turns out those Templars were buried right here after they invaded Egypt. Nothing new there. The normal workers are cleared out.
Hey, this is my site. What do you think you're doing?
Although one of them protests against this, but the man in black gives him a smash invitation letter. The dude then monologues about a dark secret hidden in these caves' walls. Then he sims for Princess Amunet, a very formidable heir to the Egyptian throne. She would have been worshipped as a living god if it weren't for her mother bearing another child. And this time it's a dude. Guess Egyptian royalty has no sense of equality. Amunet then accepted her newborn brother. Psych! She made a demonic pact with Set instead. Out of this, she got some cool tats, and I guess killed her father and brother. She was about to bring Set through the body of a mortal man, but surprise, Timo blind darts. Then she was mummified alive. Then her sarcophagus was taken far from Egypt, and she would remain there.
Then to eternal darkness.
Welcome to Iraq, the birthplace of society. That is, if someone would stop all these gunshots. Later, someone eyeballs the war zone from afar. One of them thinks they can do this, but the other thinks it's a bad idea. No one told me it was going to be a Michael Bay film. This fool hasn't been to the Middle East before. The man with the beard, and his sense intact, is Vale, while the eager McBeaver of an invading Westerner is Nick Morton. They're here to loot, or rather, save precious artifacts. They get shot at 5 seconds later. So much for slipping in and out. Vale and Nick are knee-deep in some Iraqi shooting gallery, so what's the most sensible thing to do? Call an airstrike. That's the most American thing to do. At this point, they're fish in a barrel. Then Nick thinks of something amazing.
We're probably gonna die here.
Then a Reaper drone strike saves their sorry meatheads. With that firepower, the local militia heads for the hills. The drone strike was strong enough to make a big crater, making the terrain uneven, making anything nearby sink to the hole. Vale gets dragged, but it looks like they've struck gold. Then their commanding officer shows up, and boy howdy, he doesn't look too pleased. He scolds the lot of them for being in a different position from what they were instructed, but Nick lies about what happened. Then Vale just rolls with it. Nick's kissing tushies, proclaiming Vale as a hero, but their Colonel Greenway here is sharp-witted. Guess the jig's up. And that's not the only slap they'll take. Ooh, right in the kisser.
The map you stole from me.
This woman's accusing Nick of stealing a map from her while they were sleeping together a few days ago. Nick, again, poorly lies to Jenny Halsey and Greenway about the missing map. Then Jenny stumbles upon the Sphinx head that the two morons unearthed earlier. So Jenny wants the place to be secure. Greenway agrees, but on the condition that Nick goes with her inside that spooky hole. Vale too. In they go, and man, it's bigger on the inside. They encounter statues, hieroglyphics, the Eye of Horus. You know, the type of stuff you find in Indiana's movie. Jenny thinks it's definitely a tomb. Then some mercury drips from the ceiling.
Mercury dripping from the ceiling.
She discovers it's a canal system leading to an oasis of the stuff. Jenny sees discovery, but the boys are seeing gold. And while she's over there deciphering the ritual barrier, Vale steals some gold from a dead guy. Nick tries to steal some too, but
Nick! Don't even think about it.
she investigates more and thinks that it's not a tomb but a prison. Sadly, the fun's over when Greenway calls, and Jenny needs some specialists to have a look at this prison. But Vale argues that they need to leave now. On impulse, of course, the dim-witted Nick shoots the prison rope. The mechanism pulls something from that mercury oasis. It's a sarcophagus, and it's an ugly one. What do we have next on the itinerary? Camel spiders. Vale panics, opening fire as if he was in an American school. So his teammates scold his impulsive firearm handiwork. I'm gonna assume no one taught Nick it was impolite to stare, because he's really staring at that coffin. So much that it gives him visions of Amunet. Well, more of an Egyptian VR experience. Of course, she gets a little flirty. That is until Jenny crushes his little Egyptian fanfiction.
do it?
Jenny either wants this thing out or she won't budge. A helicopter's sent to drag the thing out of that hole, but some crows then crowd the place. Once that helo flies out, the entire military team books it. They take this sarcophagus to the base, but a sandstorm brews up nearby. They load up the coffin in a C-130 and burst out of that sandstorm. In the plane, Jenny and Nick have a little spat with each other. Smooth, bro. Real smooth.
Nice work. I knew you were going to steal it.
Vale doesn't look so hot either. Jenny takes a look at that sarcophagus and reads the hieroglyphics found on it. Then Nick gets these weird hallucinations from it again. Looks like he was about to be sacrificed. Rise and shine. Greenway's pissed again. Well, Greenway takes the stairway to heaven, I guess. Looks like Vale is possessed and everyone scrambles to shoot him, but the two try to stop him from harming Vale. Without warning, they're backed up against the wall because Vale is wailing around a knife. Nick shoots once, nothing. Shoots again. Vale drops. The plane goes bonkers and it looks like a bird strike made two of the engines fail. Then thousands more collide against the plane, killing the pilots. That in return makes the plane plummet towards England. Jenny straps in for a parachute, but the aircraft is getting scrapped piece by piece. Nick activates Jenny's parachute while he faces a nosedive.
We need your help identifying the bodies.
Inside the morgue, one of the bodies awakens. There's Nick. Looks like Vale's alive too. So Nick has hallucinations, but Vale has possession. No time to think? Put on some clothes. Oh, too late. While Nick covers up his shame, well, these guys investigate the plane crash. They find a fried body, while the other guys find an open sarcophagus. Oh, God, that can't be good. Soon the crows begin to surround the area, and a trail of Egyptian toilet paper can be found leading to a mummified body. Surprise.
You alright?
Survey says no. The first guy goes after Alan, but he's a husk. Then he receives a kiss from this mummy. Probably the flirtiest mummy I've ever seen. Soon it begins to regrow some of its meat and it takes control of the dead cops. I guess these two were supposed to be celebrating, but Jenny's still dumbfounded on how Nick walked away from the plane crash scot-free. Jen thanks him for saving her life, but he gets some hallucination from Vale. Then Jenny says that there must be a missing Egyptian princess, and that she was about to use a dagger to bring Set, the god of death, back. Too bad those Templars got the ceremonial dagger and scattered its pieces, which one of them is found with one of the buried Templars. Vale's illusion keeps popping in and out, while Jenny's explaining. Jenny calls someone named Henry because he thinks he's acting weird. Funny timing, cause he's talking to an illusion of Vale right now.
You shot me 3 times.
Always having an argument with an illusion of Vale, which he says he's cursed. Nick storms out and finds a mummy leading a rat horde. The entire Black Death goes after Nick, but it was all in his head.
What the hell are you doing?
Nick tries to explain to Jenny his curse, but Jenny's looking like she's not buying it, so he just plays it off. Back at the plane crash, Amanette gives out kisses in exchange for their life energies and immortal souls. Fair trade. She's beginning to recover her peak physical form. Then Nick and Jenny sneak to where she was, but Amanette already knows they're there. Looks like Nick's in another illusion. This time, he's inside a church. Then he gets dragged onto a coffin. There, he gets inspected by Amanette, later getting somewhat frisky. What he doesn't know is that Amanette is welcoming Set to his body and is about to stab him with a dagger, but Jenny catches him.
Run! Run!
Amanette chases after Jenny, so Nick is left to fight off the zombies that Amanette made. Jen's a pretty easy catch, but Nick's free and stabs Amanette a few times before escaping with Jenny. The two run out of the church, but Nick gets to an ambulance first, so he puts the pedal to the metal, and Jenny's begging for a rescue. Looks like he was about to leave her.
You saw that, right?
Well, there's your answer. Apparently, Nick also nabbed the dagger of Set, and Jenny deduces that Amanette willingly crashed that plane near the Abbey so that she could recover the dagger of Set. Then she drew Nick in as a host body. Nick denies, but he drove right back to her unwillingly. They get ambushed by a few zombies in the escape, but not a lot of trouble was caused up until one of them steered the ambulance into a ledge. Nick sees Amanette, so it's boss battle time. I should have rolled, Nick. Amanette goes after Jenny, but that Delta team has arrived to save him. That is before they get tranked. Delta team then takes the two to downtown London, where they have a downtown secret facility. We see Nick being escorted through the facility with all kinds of weird artifacts and preserved remains of some cryptid creatures. Once he's in a comfy-looking operation room, he's let go and told to stay.
In theory, I know all about you.
The William Howard Taft man is known as Henry Jekyll. He wants to tell Nick a story about a patient of his. This patient suddenly went mad, and then Jekyll suddenly looked like moldy cheese. He stabs himself with a serum, and it's all a-okay. Henry leads him to a secret chamber filled with guards, and there in the middle is Amunet. Yeah, I don't know, there's a fine line between the Mummy and 50 Shades. Henry calls this place the Prodigium. Then he reveals that Jenny has been working with them this entire time. Then they proceed to embalm her with mercury. Nick asks about the curse, so...
Shall I end you?
Then Nick responds back in Egyptian, so the curse turns you into a linguist. Amunet then explains that what she did was just. Then she's tempting Nick to take her as queen. Amunet screams out in pain. Then Nick tells Henry to stop without context, so they don't stop. Later on, Jenny tells why she's kept this place hidden from Nick, and that she professes her love for him, but gets shut down. Then Henry offers a very late drink. Back at the Templar's tomb, they unearth something quite unholy. The red stone of Aja, or rather, the shiny thing that goes at the end of the dagger of Set. Amunet senses its retrieval, and then Jenny talks to her in Egyptian, but she preaches about the afterlife back to her. Smart move to also put that dagger in her vicinity. In the other room, the two men talk about gods, evil, and curses, and Nick's not getting it just yet.
Are you planning on killing him?
Henry essentially confesses that he does, specifically using the dagger. Of course, Nick is shocked by this, but Amunet is already making her move. Nick denies Henry the serum to prevent him from turning into moldy cheese, but he does turn from Jekyll to Hyde in a matter of minutes. Jenny and the others run, locking Nick out to face Hyde alone. Nick tries to trick him into using his handprint, but even that changes upon his edgy transformation. The two gents engage in fisticuffs. Then Amunet is set free thanks to her arachnid manipulation. Finally, after a long and convoluted tussle, Nick injects Henry with that serum, turning him back. Jenny then comes up with a plan.
We have to destroy the stone.
Henry couldn't think of that before, so they rush to get out. But Amunet goes wild. She's chanting a little ritual, and then all the sand breaks loose out to the museum. The Delta team informs their allies on the Templar burial site that she's coming for the stone, so they reinforce their securities. The two make their way to the stone, but Amunet is engulfing the whole town with sand. If this keeps up, London will turn to North Cairo. Another vision of Vale comes to Nick, claiming he knows where the stone is. While on their little detour, Delta team is close by. Amunet is near the Templar tomb, so she's able to summon an undead army that ravages the Delta team and chases after Nick. Just as one of them is about to get Jenny, Nick defends her. Then more zombies come. They lock them down to the subways. Eventually, the undead army makes quick work of the Delta team, and they finally let their leader, Amunet, in. All of the undead bow to her presence, looking like all is lost when she finds the stone and completes the dagger. Nick and Jenny get ambushed by one more zombie and are dragged to the waters. Then they fight it off, and a moment of reassurance. Oh look, the little mummy mermaid with Nick's main squeeze. He follows her into some kind of underwater tomb. Then he finds her just floating about, but not before a bunch of undead go after him as well. Just in time, he grabs Jenny, but the undead grab them above water. He's then subdued and forced to kneel in front of Jenny's seemingly lifeless body. The undead fade into thin air to give the two some space. I guess this time he simps or gets absolutely wrecked. Which he does both, but he keeps on getting up to fight her. He whacks her thigh with a small hammer, but that's a no-no, as she shatters his leg in return. Amunet goes for the choke and tries to make him succumb with Egyptian e-girl magic. Sneakily, he reaches for the dagger and, despite the broken bones, Nick's got the dagger now and tries to destroy the red stone of Aja. But Amunet pleads one last time, and the girl shills unstop. You trying to sell me this thing? Well, her pleas are useless, because when Nick was just about to give up, he stabbed himself with it. Then he sees some visions, and then the stone loses its power. Then Nick's irises multiply. He awakens and walks towards Amunet, dropping and shattering the stone. Then just as he was about to give in to Amunet, he remembers Jenny. Ah yes, the Dua ex machina of the power of love. He comes back to his senses and suddenly has the superpowers to overpower and kiss. Yeah, kiss Amunet to a decrepit death. Wait until he tells this story to Jenny. He waddles over to her, and do you think that he'll kiss her to revive her? Nah, he goes full Kino Morbius and roars, scaring Jenny, well, to life. But when she awakens, Nick is nowhere to be found. Jenny picks up what's left of the dagger, and then she finds Nick in a corner, but he looks like he's hiding something. Nick confesses that he has so many regrets, so he doesn't want to hurt Jenny. Did he turn into some kind of werewolf? Because he growls and bids farewell to Jenny. She's left with Henry and his soldiers. Lady, he just growled at you to wake up. At the Prodigium, they take back the remains of Amunet and submerge it into Mercury, while Jenny and Henry debate about the fate of Nick. Looks like our boy made it through. Nick becoming some sort of X-Men's apocalypse and brought Vale back to life. Totally not convenient at all. Vale is roped into one of Nick's scummy antics again, while Henry states that they might have to scour the world to find him and break his curse. Then Amunet is locked off, while Nick and Vale ride into the desert for adventures and parts unknown. Close that tomb. What you guys think about this ancient reboot movie? Let us know in those comments with the hashtag #CinemaRecap. This was The Mummy by Universal Studios, starring Tom Cruise, Sophia Boutella, and Annabelle Wallace. Thank you guys so much for chilling with us. Until our next ancient artifact heist. Farewell.